major policies doctrine is,
Chairman,
because you're asking me about Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, and you don't read it. You don't know what it says.
Listen, and what you want to do is to deny.
No, I actually read the law. I do my homework.
Really?
You're just somebody who likes to have the microphone on. You know what I have to do? I read the law.
No,
I read the
Chairman,
Supreme
I don't
Court
have to
cases.
listen to this, and I would say
No, what you should do for your constituents is actually read statute.
The budget is at real risk.
Read your Supreme Court.
This is the Appropriations Committee.
Oh,
you come here.
You care about science? Now you're threatening to defund it?
Oh my God! No, you don't fund
because
science.
You don't know what Loper Bright is. Because you don't know what the major policies doctrine is. Your message to our folks at the EPA is that you want to defund us.
I don't have to listen to this BS.
BS. You think I made up these cases?
Yeah, I think you have made up a whole
I
lot of
made
BS.
up Loper Bright. I made up West Virginia versus EPA. I made up Michigan versus EPA.
Woe is right. What are you doing? Why are you helping polluters?
Joining us now, Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, President Craig Rucker. So, Craig, we just played EPA Administrator Zeldin in committee smoking Rosa DeLauro. Talk a little bit about how the climate change debate is actually happening on Capitol Hill.
You know, it's interesting because I gotta say that I think Zeldin, and I had a chance to introduce him at that meeting that she was talking about, that big deniers meeting. That was a meeting that we hosted. It's called the International Conference on Climate Change. And for years, we've been clamoring about the fact that the science isn't settled on climate change. And we had noted scientists at this thing from Nobel Prize laureates to people that are very, from leading universities, Harvard, Smithsonian, Princeton professors. So these are academics of the highest standard. And she's criticizing him for having attended that, among other things. He kind of lectured her on basic law. Two big court decisions, the Loper decision and the West Virginia versus EPA. She had absolutely no idea what the major policies doctrine was. And the major policies doctrine was established by these. The EPA cannot be a rogue agency setting about policy that impacts broad swaths of the American economy without some oversight by Congress or review by the judicial system, which it had been operating under. So he was totally within the rights of lecturing her, getting her to understand that. She got a lot of nonsense about people being poisoned by climate change and streets being flooded. She was just off the rails.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will watch that and wonder how over 700,000 people could come together and decide that this is the person they were going to send to fight for them in Congress. But to the core issue of what the EPA is doing, what's your assessment of an appropriate EPA mission?
Well, it's exactly doing what he did. I mean, he reduced the staff. He's actually recentering the EPA on what its original mission was, which is clean air, clean water. And polls reflect that. Climate change in any given election doesn't even rank in the top 10, sometimes not even in the top 20 of concerns for the average voter. What they're concerned about when they talk about environmental protection is clean air, clean water, and that's what he's directed the mission to do. They've stopped a lot of illegal dumping from companies that are doing Chinese products. He's tightened things at the border with some of the pollution that's coming across from Mexico. He's done some things that are actually in that genre. But getting on climate change, this was never a mission that the EPA should have been on. It was really put there by Obama back in 2009 using something called the endangerment finding, something that is rightly rolled back by Zeldin, and getting the EPA mission back to where it should be.
If Democrats get control of the EPA again, I don't think we're going to get the Obama version. I think we're going to get something far worse. What concerns you about what these powers could do in the hands of the current Democratic Party?
I give the administrator great credit because some of the stuff that he's rolled back will be more difficult for, God forbid, a President Gavin Newsom if he gets in, because they are supposed to go to either the court. They can be challenged in courts now because thanks to the Loper decision in West Virginia versus EPA, and getting us out of, let's say, the Paris Accord, which was a big thing that Obama did. He actually got us out of not just the Paris Accord Trump did. They got us out of the original Convention on Climate Change that dates back to 1992. So any new thing that they're going to do on climate change, in theory, should have to go to the U.S. Senate for 2/3 vote. So I do think the former incoming administration could maybe, pour all sorts of money to green groups and overturn some of the stuff that Zeldin has done on that level. But as far as the basic laws, it's going to be a fight for the next administration to try to turn back some of the things. Trump, too, is a lot more clever in how they put these things through than Trump 1 was.
Well, certainly, Administrator Zeldin is among the most clever. Craig Brucker, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your expertise.
Thank you.